Let's talk about it. Taboo topics Christian women don't talk about.
Welcome to episode 6. I'm Prophetess Pam, Golliday. This is Let's Talk About It, Taboo Topics Christian Women Don't Talk About It. My co-host is Pastor V. Let's get into it, Pastor V.
All right, let's get into it. So these are the questions that you guys asked in the survey. And here in episode 6, we're going to be tackling singleness, dating, and the waiting period, part 2. So if you haven't seen part 1 is episode 5. Make sure you go back and watch part 1, because then you'll be able to pick up right here where we are in episode number 6. So let's get into the second set of questions. All right. So the first question for this episode is, how would you encourage someone who is single in church, has a difficulty meeting people even in church? How does this person pursue dating?
All right. Well, I talked about this in episode 5. I want to lay a foundation about this part 2, singleness, dating, and waiting. And I want to encourage the single people to follow the principle of vision. Mm-hmm. And that's found in Proverbs 29:18. In the NASB 2020 is what I'm reading. It says, where there is no vision, the people are unrestrained, but happy is one who keeps the law. So, in other words, if I'm single and I have a vision, I will let that vision dictate what I do in each setting, in every setting that I'm in. Okay. So if I'm in church and I know that I'm dating, then I have to make myself friendly. Yes. So that I can meet new people in church. Yes. If I'm out and about doing different things, if I'm in a social gathering, I make myself friendly, because in my vision, I want to date. And in order to date, you have to meet people. Absolutely. And so I believe that vision should drive everything. So no matter what the setting is, church, work, family gatherings, a lot of times, even in family gatherings, people bring guests. That's right. And so you can meet the guests if you have in your vision to be friendly, to meet people. So I think that's really what single people should focus in, incorporating dating into their vision, because now their behavior will dictate, hey, I have a vision and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So that when it said people are unrestrained where there is no vision, that vision will restrain you to be nice and to be friendly and to meet people, well, no matter what the setting.
Yes. So essentially you're saying you have to put yourself out there and be friendly. I think sometimes this is often overlooked. People say, oh, I'm single, I got, married friends, but I don't really hang out with them. I encourage people in church, be friendly with everybody. Married people know single people too. That's right. So if you're friendly and you befriend a sister in the church, she might be married, but she might know somebody that's friends with her husband, or she might have a relative. So you want to practice being friendly with everybody, not just single people, with other people. So in other words, network, ladies. Network in your church. Hang out with the single ladies. Hang out with the married ladies. Network, be friendly, because you never know who other people know, and they can kind of help make that connection. Make that connection for you. So being friendly is such a great first step. Just really putting yourself out there and letting people know, hey, I'm looking for somebody. If you know anybody, I'm looking. I'm on the market, right? Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, and when you're in the store, if a man speaks to you, say hi. Yes, don't put your head down. Say hi. Practice being friendly when people say hi. Say hi, how you doing? Talk, be friendly. Because a lot of times I think single people think that a man is just going to magically appear. He's not going to magically appear. Right. You have to communicate, even if he came around. If you're not used to being friendly and saying hi and nice meeting you, nice talking to you, how do you think you're going to ever get in the mode of communicating? Communicating is a big part of dating.
Right. Yes. That's good. So be bold, ladies. Say hello. Network. Yes. All right. Question number 2. This person asks, how do I balance having a demanding career and dating? So some examples we heard from some entrepreneurs. We heard from a lady that is a lawyer. So they have these demanding careers and they want to know, how do I balance my demanding career, but also dating at the same time?
It should be included in your vision. There should be a schedule. Like, if she's a lawyer, she's working.
Right.
Okay, well, you don't work all the time.
Right.
So there should be leisure time. There should be meeting people time. It should be incorporated into her overall vision for her life. Just like she has a schedule for work, there should be time spent just for dating or meeting new people or going places that people are where she can meet new people. And so because people don't live according to purpose and vision, they think it's hard to get into something that they want to do and experience, but it's not if they make it a part of their overall life experience. And that happens when you have a vision.
Right. And a huge part of that, obviously, is planning. Right. I know you mentioned planning, how important it is to plan. So there should be planned time.
Yes.
For these activities. Yes. For meeting people, for going out on dates.
Yes.
And so you mentioned, well, you don't work all the time. Well, you shouldn't be working all the time.
Right.
If you want to meet somebody.
Right.
You got to cut that off and then have time dedicated to actually meeting people.
Right. And that's the balance, because I don't know if this lady is, but sometimes we all can be workaholics. I'm kind of like that a little bit myself. I have to shut myself down, especially if you want to meet people. You say, hey, once I'm done with work, I'm done with work. This is my free time. This is my time to unwind, or this is my time to meet people. So I think to give herself a chance and give herself an opportunity to connect with someone, she has to plan that in. She has to have a schedule, but she has to have a vision that incorporates that into her everyday lifestyle.
Yeah. And then she has to value it enough to actually do it. Because it's one thing to say, I want to meet somebody. But if you prioritize work or other things over actually meeting somebody, then you have to ask yourself, well, is this something that I really want? And is this something that is really a part of my vision if I won't actually spend the time doing it? Right.
That's a good point, because a lot of times we as humans always say we want something, but we don't necessarily prove it by the actions.
Absolutely.
The proof is in the pursuit. That's a popular saying. The proof is in the pursuit.
Absolutely.
Well, if you really want a date, you have to pursue it. You have to put yourself in circles and environments where you can meet people, and you have to literally take the time to actually do it.
That's really good.
Yes.
You got to take the time to do it.
Yes.
All right. Now, what would you tell someone who received a prophecy? Here we go. This is a good one for you, Prophetess.
Okay.
So this person received a prophecy regarding a future spouse, and it was incorrect, or it hasn't happened yet. What would you tell that person?
Well, first of all, I would tell that person, if that person is continuing to live a life of faith, and they're in right standing with God, and they're not, not really in faith anymore, and their relationship with God is active, I would tell them they should just keep waiting and expecting and keep doing what they're doing and living by their vision is going to happen. Or if say that person got out of right standing with God, and they mad at God and and then they went and did some stuff. And a lot of times people don't understand that when a prophecy is given, you have to stay in alignment in the right relationship with God for that prophecy to come to pass.
Yes.
There's things that you can do to get out of alignment with that prophecy coming to pass, and it won't happen.
Yeah.
Case in point, Moses went to Egypt to get the children of Israel out of the promised land. But did they go in?
No,
they didn't go in.
He went to go get them to take them into the promised land.
He went to go get them to take them into the promised land. Did they go in?
They did not go in.
Well, would you say that Moses was a false prophet, or was his prophecy incorrect? No. They got out of line because they didn't do what God told them to do.
Exactly.
They would not believe what God told them to believe. And so when it comes to prophecies and words from God, a lot of times people don't understand you have to stay in faith. You have to believe God. You have to keep your life in right standing with God so that the thing could come to pass. Now, a lot of times when the prophecies, I've seen this, where things will begin to happen that proves a word that God spoke to a person is going to come true, they'll get in the flesh and start doing stuff they shouldn't do. And then the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah.
That happens too, almost like a self-sabotaging. So I don't know if that happened, but that happens. But if everything is intact, then it could still happen.
Absolutely.
Another thing is the Bible says, follow them who through faith and patience inherit promises. Now, it took 75 years for Abraham to get Isaac.
That's right. Yeah.
That was a long time.
Sometimes
it takes a while for things to happen.
Yes.
So you can't necessarily be in a hurry. But if you are living your life, you're enjoying your life, you're living according to a vision, the time just flies by anyway. You won't get caught up over the time because you'll be so engulfed in your life. So
absolutely,
I think when it comes to prophetic visions and words from prophets about the life and incorrect, there needs to be an examination of that whole process.
Now, will you speak to, with this particular one, obviously when you're talking about, prophecies and words from God, this particular one, it's like several moving parts and pieces, right? You obviously have the word from God, you have the woman that received the word, but also there's another person that's attached to this word, which is that future spouse as well. Can you also talk about how in situations like this, not only does the woman have to be obedient, get in alignment, stay in right standing, stay in faith, but then even if the Lord tells the man, he actually have to get into it. Talk a little bit about that, because then he would have to also comply. And that's the thing too, when you talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's the thing too. If there was a prophecy given saying that this man was going to come at a certain period of time, and this is the kind of man that this is going to be, the man has to be obedient too. He has to show up at the time he's supposed to show up.
Right.
He has to be the kind of man that he's supposed to be. And whenever humans are involved, you have to understand there could be some things that prevent that person from being and doing what they're supposed to do. That's just how it is.
Absolutely.
And that's a vital part of it, And so know this though, if you ask God for a husband, he's coming.
Yes.
Even if he have to raise up some other husband, some other guy from somewhere else to come to replace the guy that didn't show up when he was supposed to, he will.
Yes.
Because you believe you received that when you pray.
That's right.
That's the most powerful thing about living by faith, that if you believe you receive something from God and you don't change your mind, it's going to happen.
Yes.
Even if God have to raise up somebody else to make it happen.
Right. And that's because he doesn't violate our free will.
Right.
So even though that was his intention and that was what they were supposed to do, God won't violate our will and make the person do it. They have to willingly do that. They have to willingly comply. Sometimes people just be disobedient.
Yes, they do. That's true. They do. Just like the children of Israel was disobedient. So that even though the promised land was there for them, flowing with milk and honey, full of all good things, they couldn't go in because they didn't do what God told them to do. So that's a reality.
Yes. And my last point about the prophecy, especially because you're a prophetess, so you're the perfect person to give us insight on that. Can you touch really briefly a little bit more on the believing piece? Because sometimes you might receive prophetic words from, maybe there's a visiting prophet or things like that, somebody whose life maybe you don't know, their history and their, obviously we're graced because you shared your many testimonies and fruit in your life. So we know obviously your prophetic gift is accurate and true. But say, for instance, you go to a service and there's a visiting prophet. You don't know who they are, what their backstory is, all those things. Can you talk a little bit about, when God is speaking through these people, when there are words coming forth, prophetic words coming forth, how important believing is, when you may not have that backstory, when you do have that backstory, either way, when it comes to words from God, how important that believing piece is.
Yeah, well, listen, the Bible says faith come by hearing and hearing by the word of God. So if somebody says that they're a prophet and they're hearing from God, if you believe them and they're not saying nothing crazy off the wall, and you believe it, it will happen. Now, I'm not saying what time period is going to happen.
Absolutely.
I can't guarantee that.
Of course.
But believing is so important, because without believing, you'll never get what they're talking about.
Absolutely.
And so I do understand the fact that some prophets, if you know them, you know their backstory, you know that they're credible and all of that, that's fine. But if this prophet says they heard from God, and if you believe what they said, because the believing is the thing.
Right.
If you believe it, it'll come to pass.
Amen. Thank you, prophetess. All right. Our next question is, how do I not get impatient during the waiting season? How do I not get impatient?
Well, the Bible says, follow them who through faith and patience inherit promises. I'll give you an example. I believe God. The Lord spoke a word to me and told me that I was supposed to be driving a Rolls Royce. At the time, I didn't even know what a Rolls Royce was. It drove past me down the street and I didn't even know what it was. And in the place that I grew up in, that I lived in at the time, which was my hometown, there's not a place where very many cars like that drive down the street. And so I believed God all these years and kept positioning my life to the point where I could live in a location where I could have a Rolls Royce. You can drive that everywhere,
Right.
and park
Yeah,
that
you
at
can't
every
drive that everywhere,
location.
right.
But it took 20 years.
It took 20 years.
It took 20 years.
Yeah.
And I never changed my mind. I never stopped believing. I kept seeing that come to pass. And so that's how you wait. You wait with expectation.
Yeah.
You wait with planning.
Mm-hmm.
You wait with keeping yourself positioned. That means throughout your life, you do the things and you make the decisions and you place yourself in a position where you're always conscious that this thing that I said I believed I received, I'm positioned to possess it at all times.
Yeah, that's
because
good.
it's the main thing on my mind. It's
Yeah.
the main thing that's driving me. And that's how you do it.
That's awesome. Now, I want you to encourage the woman. Like, that's great what you said. But okay, let me get real with you for a second. There are times and seasons where, say, for instance, you have a group of friends and you guys are similar in age, things like that. Say one friend is single and then, all of the rest of them start to get married. So now everybody's getting married, but you still single. And then it's like, okay, Lord, I'm waiting, you be happy for them. You do what you can. And then now everybody start having babies, and then you still single. And then the kids growing up and you still single. Like, going through these life changes with other people. I've been there in my life personally. So I know it's, as much as you love the people around you, your friends, your people you go to church with, things like that. It's not always easy watching other people experience the things you're hoping for and to fully be happy for them and to not fall into some of those other things. So what would you tell that woman, how do you kind of stay away from getting into that when in reality, literally people are living and experiencing the things that you want to, but you are not yet. We got to talk about that because that's real for women.
Okay. Well, in my opinion, from my experience, I've been married a long time, but I've been in those places where in my marriage, when other people around me were experiencing some of the things that I wanted to experience. And I remember having hope that one day my life wasn't going to be here, but while I'm here, I have to deal with while I'm here. I got to make sure that I'm becoming the kind of person that can have the things that those people are experiencing. And see, a lot of times people want things and they want to experience certain things, but they aren't inwardly prepared for those things. And that's a thing too, because a lot of times people won't tell the truth. I'm not really ready for that because I put that in too high of a place. And because it's in too high of a place, I'm not living my life right now to the degree by getting prepared, by enjoying my life, by understanding that this time that I'm spending alone is precious. Those are the kinds of things that I think that women in those positions don't think about, because I used to be in that position, but I was married. So that doesn't just happen to single people.
So you saying that's even in marriage,
yes,
you experience those things.
Yes, because
too.
you see other married couples moving on, going forward financially. Their family is growing and getting into other levels of things. That happens even when you see your married friends. So it's about being happy and satisfied where you are while you're believing and hoping and expecting to move forward.
So that hope is supposed to keep that woman, that hope and that vision is supposed to keep her content, keep her happy, keep her from falling into jealousy or envy, being envious, things like that. That's that hope that eventually she'll get to experience these things. It's supposed to keep her out of kind of those feelings.
And being thankful.
That's
because
good.
A lot of times it's not as glorious as it looks.
Talk about it. What you mean, Prophetess? What you mean? Now, come
on
the
now. Things that we say we want, they look so shiny. And
they do look shiny.
It's shiny. And
it's so like, shiny and pretty.
But it's not always like that all the time. And
that's true.
You don't, a lot of times, until you're in certain things and in certain positions, you have no idea what that's really like.
True.
Even though you want it and it looks so glorious. And then when you get in, you're like, oh my God, this is what this was. If I had known that, I would have been happy over there. What I had going on. So it's best to be thankful and satisfied where you are while you're there and get out of that season everything that you can get and glean and enjoy your life in that season.
Yeah.
And that's what I have. That's all I got.
That's good. That's very good. All right. Our next question, and this is a good one, is why is singleness in church looked at as just a stepping stone or a waiting room for marriage? Why is this season not celebrated more? So that kind of go along with what you were just talking about.
Well, I think that kind of perspective, you have to buy into that.
Mm-hmm.
That person doesn't have to look at that like that.
Mm-hmm.
A waiting room, really? It's like that sounds so bad. Like I have to wait till I do this before I can enjoy my life.
But in churches like that though, in churches like, because marriage is taught as this thing, and in Christian culture in general, it is like singleness is just a stepping stone. It's literally like just a waiting room to marriage instead of its own season in its right that's worth celebrating, that's worth investing into and enjoying. I mean, it's true.
Well, that's a flawed perspective, because every person is precious.
Yeah.
Period. And it has nothing to do with being married. You're precious.
Absolutely.
As a single person.
Absolutely.
And your life is valuable as a single person.
Yes.
And so if a woman never gets married, she's still precious.
Absolutely.
She's still awesome. She still has the potential to be great.
Absolutely.
It's like, if that's what's going on, we need to stop that, because
Yeah.
that could be damaging to the self-image.
Absolutely.
And God never intended for marriage to be a source to produce low self-image for his daughters.
Yeah.
He loves all his daughters, married and unmarried.
Yes.
And so as a single, you are just as blessed as a married woman.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's the truth. And so that perspective, I want to encourage you, if you looking at it like that, don't do that. You can choose. You can choose to say, hey, I have an awesome life.
Yes.
Because you do. I'm enjoying my life because you can. And the best is yet to come, because it is, if you believe it.
Yes.
And that's how it should be lived.
Absolutely.
All that other stuff, that's kind of heavy.
Yeah.
That's really heavy.
It is.
And that's not a reflection of the kingdom.
Yeah. Yeah.
The kingdom of God is righteousness, peace, and joy. That doesn't produce an environment of joy and happiness and enjoying your life. And so as a single person, they have a right to enjoy their lives, but I understand they have to do it through the right perspective. So I'm encouraging you not
don't
to
look at it like this.
Don't
look at it like this.
No.
But honestly, that's so liberating. And I'm encouraging you as single people, married people, share this episode with people. Christians need to hear what Prophetess just explained about how we should be looking at this season and how we should even be dealing with one another. We should be treating each other as valuable, whether you married or unmarried, all of that, what you said. So that was not only incredible, but it's eye-opening even to examine, how are you treating your brothers and sisters that are in this state and condition, with your interactions and all of those things. We definitely don't want to encourage low self-image in these people. That's not the best. It's not the kingdom. So that was incredible. So share this with somebody, because that will be an absolute blessing to them. All right. Any final thoughts, Prophetess, for singleness, dating, and the waiting period part 2?
Put together your vision and start running with that vision and enjoy your life and be in the moments. And more importantly, be friendly. That's it.
That's it.
Thank you for watching and listening. Join us for the next episode. Follow us on social media.